morning, everyone. I hope you all are doing awesome today. Thank you for joining this edition of Let's Get Cooking, collaboration with 18 Reasons, UC Davis School of Medicine in the city of Oakland. My name is Shanette, and that is Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. What are we cooking today?
Today we are making a summer vegetable pasta.
Okay,
Whole wheat
I'm
pasta.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
super excited,
So,
actually.
I mean, we're gonna have like a full lunch today, which is nice.
Yes,
Doing some snacks,
yes.
some light things. So I'm very excited that we're gonna finish today and just be able to sit down to lunch. But very important before we get started, fill up a pot of water and set it on your stove to start boiling. So I actually only have this kind of big Dutch oven sort of thing to cook large amounts of pasta, but I just filled it all the way up, and I'm gonna just set my stove on high. And you wanna have, if you can, get, a very big pot. That way, even when you put the pasta in, it will have a lot of room to cook.
Yeah.
The more space the pasta has, the better it will cook. And we're actually gonna do a technique today as we finish up our pasta where right before we drain it, we're actually going to take either, I have a nice liquid measuring cup here, but you could also just use a glass. We're going to take out a little bit of the cooking water that the pasta has just been cooking in, so it's got a lot of the starch in it. And we're actually going to add it to our vegetables as we put the pasta in there to finish up. And I'll kind of go over why we're doing that again. Let's get going. So I have all my ingredients laid out. So what people got in their bags was a zucchini. Oh, I can put this a little further down. So we have a zucchini, a yellow bell pepper, some sweet basil. So it's a little bit sweeter, obviously, than normal basil. You have ear of corn, a pint of cherry tomatoes, a red onion, and garlic. And I've already gone ahead and taken off. The recipe says 2 cloves of garlic, but this little guy just kind of came off as I took these off. So I'm just going to cook it in there too. Like I've said in the past, I love garlic, so it really doesn't bother me.
I love garlic. I'll probably do 5 cloves of garlic because I love garlic.
Yeah. Get it all in there. Yeah, and also on the recipe, it says you have the option of using dried oregano, but it's a little bit hard to include that in everybody's bags, and it's not completely necessary because with these recipes especially, we're focusing on using our vegetables for a lot of our flavor, and now today we have our fresh herb addition. So more garlic will add more flavor, obviously. We're going to put a whole onion in here, which is going to add a lot of flavor. But we're going to get started by chopping our garlic, chopping our onion, chopping our zucchini and bell pepper, chopping our corn, chopping our tomatoes, and then we're going to put it all on the stove. And hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will just come together in the perfect amount of time, which is the real trick of cooking, is getting everything to finish.
Everything finished at the same time, yeah.
So fingers crossed. Okay, so I'm gonna start by just roughly chopping my garlic. We don't really need to chop it that small, and I'm gonna start by giving it a pound. It kind of like breaks it up, and even if it kind of smashes it, that's totally fine. If we cut our garlic too small, it's gonna end up burning in the oil instead of cooking. So I will usually leave my garlic in slightly bigger chunks because I don't want all my oil to just taste like burnt garlic and ruin the rest of my dish. So I'm going to take all of these. Again, we'll use my claw grip that I was kind of talking about and keep my knife close to my knuckles like this. And I'm just going to kind of go down and just small. And I'm going to turn it and do like 1 cut. So I actually have some pieces of garlic that are about this big. That will cook just fine because it's also going to be cooking in a lot of the released juices of our vegetables. So, you know, zucchini has a lot of liquid in it. Bell peppers have a lot of liquid in it. Tomatoes especially have a lot of liquid in them. So we'll be fine. I don't think we're gonna get like a weirdly large chunk of garlic. All right, so I have gone through all of that. And I have just this little kind of container I'm gonna scoop that into. I'm gonna put this trash in my trash bowl that I have over here. And now I'm gonna move on to the onion. So remember last week we went over a very easy trick on how to dice our onion. So we're gonna practice that today. I actually used a little bit of this onion for my breakfast this morning. I made some egg and bean tacos. They were delicious. Put some onion in there, added a lot of good flavor. But again, we're gonna keep our hairy end on. You're gonna cut the tip off. You're gonna lay it flat. You're gonna cut it in half. You're gonna set those down. But actually, you want to take off the skin first, so you can pick it back up, take that skin off. And then, very important, you're going to put your hand flat, kind of press the onion down, that way it's not going to slip. And you're just going to kind of wiggle your knife in there. If your knife is not sharp, this will be a little more tricky, and if you feel like it's unsafe, you definitely don't have to do it. There are many ways to cut an onion, but I am just going to do 2 little strips like that. And you aren't cutting all the way through, right? Because we want this all to be attached. And then you're going to come to the top of the onion. Again, use your claw grip. Come down and down. And even still, it's like mostly attached, right? And then for the final cut, you just come down and down and down.
What's the trick to like not cry when you're cutting onions? Because
it is hard. The real trick is to have a very sharp knife. So the duller the knife, the more you're gonna cry, because
really,
yeah. So what makes you cry in onions is it's actually a chemical being released by the onion itself.
yeah.
If you want to think of it as like its own defense mechanism because it doesn't want to get chopped, but really it's every time you cut into it, it releases a chemical that travels up to your eyes, and like any sort of watery membrane. So, you know, that's really just your eyes. It's the easiest one it can get into. But if you have a sharp knife, it's actually going to make a much cleaner cut. So you won't be releasing as much of the chemical that makes you cry.
I must need to sharpen my knives then because my eyes are burning.
Yeah, and this one, I can't really sharpen this one because of the red plating. So
Goodness.
we'll see. Maybe I should just use some of my other knives. Okay. So now I chopped this whole onion.
We're chopping the whole onion? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
All of
I thought we were over with half. It's burning my eyes.
Yeah. I used to work in a prep kitchen where we like, you know, sometimes I would spend an entire morning slicing onions.
Lord.
And the trick that I learned was I would stick my head in our walk-in fridge.
Yeah.
Freezer, because that deactivates sort of the chemical that's making you cry.
Interesting.
Real luxury to have the walk-in.
Right.
Okay. So I have my onions and my garlic all in this one container, and I'm going to let's cut everything first because I'm worried we don't want to burn anything. So once you're done cutting your onion, we're going to move on to our zucchini and our bell pepper. So you see, I've actually separated these into 2 bowls, not just because I don't have one giant bowl, but I've actually separated them by when I'm going to add them to my recipe. So our zucchini and our bell pepper are very dense. They'll take a little bit longer to soften up. I would also add the eggplant with these vegetables. So if you have an eggplant that you purchase yourself, please cut those at the same time as the zucchini and the bell pepper. And for our zucchini, I'm just gonna chop off the parts that we're not eating. And then we're gonna chop it in half. And now, you know, you kind of have a choose your own shape if you want. So I think I am just going to do little half circles, but if you want to do smaller, so like let's say you wanted your zucchini to be smaller, you wanted some smaller bites, you can certainly do it that way. But I'm feeling very half circle today, so I am just gonna chop away. And I can already start to hear my water kind of boiling, which is great.
How's everybody doing out there? You guys okay? Are we keeping up? Are we going too quickly?
Yeah, let me know if we're going too fast. I know there's.
Are we going too fast? Does anybody have any questions so far about anything? Everybody's good? Okay.
Great. So I can slow it down just a little bit. I'm just going to get through my zucchini. It's a very cut forward class.
Right. A lot of chopping.
And chopping a whole onion and garlic usually takes some time. Okay. So I have my zucchini cut. Now to cut my bell pepper. A lot of people have different tricks. I just kind of like cut a little square around the top. That is what works easiest for me. And then I will stick my thumb in, just pull it out. And so a lot of the seeds actually stay in on the top too. And then any extra seeds will usually just pop on out. And then from there, chop it in half. And I'm going to remove any of this other membrane that's in here because that doesn't really have any taste to it. So it's not really going to add anything to our pasta. So we're just going to take it out. And then I'm actually going to cut these into strips first. And something that I learned, I'm not sure if I was late to the game or if this is some very just like a pro tip, but I actually learned that it's more efficient, I guess, to always do the same action, do it all the way through, and then move on to your next cut. So you notice like I cut all of these in strips, and now I'm gonna go back and cut it. And I do know some people feel inclined to, cut one strip and then do the little, square cut another strip, do the square cut. You'll actually.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, you cut all the strips and then.
Yeah, I remember doing that and being like, wow, that's really changing my life. Maybe I was just trying to move too fast, and I felt like I was making so much progress. And I can actually put two of these strips together at a time. Get some little squares. So eggplant, I feel like, is a big, usually a lot of people ask how to cook eggplant. It's often used in a lot of stir fries. And the way you're going to cut the eggplant is, so I'm just going to like visualize with this corn. So you're going to cut off the top that you're not using. And then you will actually cut just like rounds of the eggplant. So then you'll end up with a bunch of eggplant pieces that are about this big and probably like an inch thick. And then from there, you can cut the eggplant basically like a crosshatch. That way you'll end up with pieces that are somewhere between these two sizes, because these are all the things that we're going to put in together. So you want your eggplant to be relatively the same as these two vegetables, because then it will all cook at the same time. An eggplant does take a little bit longer to cook, but it absorbs a lot of flavor. So eggplant is actually great to like marinate, or if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, takes on marinades really well. It's really great to grill. And like I said, really fun to saute. Okay, so for people with corn, we are going to shuck our corn. Get all of these little strings off. And this is just sweet white corn. And it is delicious. It's going to add a lot of flavor to our dish. And I do a snap. All right. Definitely going to have some excess strings. Try to get as many off as you can. I think I'm not as particular about it as other people because I'm just cooking this for me. All right. And then the way we're actually going to cut our corn is we are not going to try to cut it down in this way because then we're going to have corn everywhere. So the way that I learned how to cut corn is you're going to lay it flat. Lay it flat on yours. And you're going to cut one side of it. And so this first cut will be the hardest because obviously the whole piece is still round. So then you have a flat piece. And then you just put it flat. And then you just do the same thing. And you just go all the way around the corn that way. So now you have all this nice, tasty corn. And Shanette, do you think we should chop our tomatoes or do you think we should just cook them whole?
That's a good question.
Really small.
I personally, when I eat tomatoes cooked, I like them a little bit smaller. Okay. So maybe cut them in half would be good.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Let's take our tomatoes out and chop them in half. I'll put my corn in here. And my pasta water is boiling, so
mine is too.
Let's take a quick break. I am gonna salt my pasta water because it'll add some more flavor. When you salt it, it's be generous. I've heard people use the term of you want it to like taste like seawater, like imagine you're making seawater. But I put in like a generous helping of salt. Take this off. Give it a quick stir. And the salt just helps flavor our noodles. That's really all we're doing. And I'm going to put in my whole box of pasta.
You use the whole box? Okay.
I'm just going to go for it. Even if I have extra, that's fine. I can make pasta salad,
Yeah.
I find that I don't go through like pasta too frequently. Sometimes it's just better to get it all done at once. Do it all. Okay. So got my pasta in there, and that's going to take about 10 minutes. And I have people got some different shapes. So I have a fusilli shape. Shanette, I'm not sure if you have the penne shape.
I do. I have the penne wheat pasta.
Nice. And then I bought this. You'll notice I got the whole wheat version. So just one quick note on that is that whenever we're buying whole wheat products, the way to double check that it's actually whole wheat is to look at the ingredients label. So on this box, it's on the side, and you can see that it actually says wholemeal durum wheat semolina. So now we know it's actually whole wheat. There are actually a lot of kind of sneaky products, which this actually happened to me. Last week, I bought some English muffins, and they said, they're like 10 grain, thought they were whole wheat. But then I looked at the label, and you probably can't see this, but the label actually says enriched wheat flour, which is not whole wheat flour. Enriched wheat flour is just unbleached flour that has some extra vitamins added to it. And we really want to focus on our whole grains, one, because they have more fiber, two, they have so much more nutrients in them, and three, they are also part of a healthy diet for your brain. You know, whole grains, they keep you fuller longer. I just think they taste better, but you know, we all got to balance our diets in some way. Okay, so we've got our corn. I'm gonna scoop this into my bowl. That way I can cut my tomatoes. I'm just gonna cut all of these. And I'm gonna put them in the same bowl as the corn because these will be added towards the end because they will cook a little faster.
I love tomatoes. Tomatoes are so yummy. They're one of my favorites. I eat a lot of tomatoes, actually.
Which kinds do you usually get? Like
I normally get the cherry or the Roma tomatoes. I love Roma tomatoes to cook with also. Normally like with the cherry or the grape tomatoes, I tend to eat them raw. Or I make a salsa out of them. So this is going to be really interesting because I think this is probably like the first time that I'm actually like really sauteing cherry tomatoes.
It's good. I mean, and it's this recipe is great because it's kind of like a cheaper tomato sauce also.
Right.
I mean, the tomatoes were cheaper than a jar of sauce. Maybe probably all the vegetables together were about the same price, but it's still going to have a lot of flavor. And, you know, I know sauce is like a big convenience factor for people.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, if you don't have time to chop a bunch of stuff, like, buy sauce. But, you know, we're getting so many vegetables in here and so many colors too, right? Like, we're still going to make like a rainbow.
All the colors, which makes me so happy. That's like one of my favorite things.
I am turning on a saute pan. And I'm going to set it on like a medium high heat. I'm going to add kind of like a glug and a half of oil. We're going to start by cooking our aromatics, so our onion and our garlic. And then we're going to add our zucchini and bell pepper. And then we're going to finish off with the tomatoes and corn. And each of these will take about 5 to 8 minutes to saute. And I think I am more of a person that I like my vegetables kind of al dente.
Yes.
I like all the textures too. You can obviously, you know, cook them a little longer if you want. Seems like my oil's pretty warm. I'm gonna put all of this in. And our pasta's been in our water for 6 minutes. So that's got just a few minutes left.
I'm going to bring my camera down a little bit lower so you can see me.
And I'm not going to add salt just yet to this. I'm just going to let it get a little flavorful first. Let it sizzle. We just want these to soften a little bit.
Okay, so what did you add first?
So I added onions and garlic.
All right.
And start sizzling. All right. Sizzling. I'm thinking we'll give this about 2 minutes. All right. And if you have oregano that you want to add to this recipe or other dried spices or herbs, you can add that in now because the heat of the oil will actually help, or the herbs in the oil now will help flavor it, and that will only add like more flavor to the following vegetables that we put in. So
Oh, my garlic and my onions smell amazing.
Yeah. Just wait till those tomatoes and corn go in. I feel like that's when everything is delicious. Because both of these things are very sweet. I feel like, I mean, even the bell pepper is pretty sweet. Zucchini, it doesn't have like that much flavor to it, but it does have a good amount of nutrients, and it is like so dense. Same thing with eggplant. Those are two vegetables that take on a lot of flavor, but don't necessarily have a lot of flavor themselves. And that's why we're going to add a lot of other very flavorful vegetables to this. It's a good rule of thumb. If you have like zucchini or eggplant or even mushrooms, they're all things that take on sauces and other flavors very well. Okay, so my onions look a lot softer. Try to hold this up to the camera. They're definitely getting a little translucent. So I'm going to add my zucchini and my bell peppers.
So we're just going to add this all into the same pot with the garlic and the onions?
What did you say?
We're adding it all into the same pot with the garlic and onions while they're cooking?
It will be in the same saute pan.
Okay.
And it's probably going to get pretty full. I will actually probably end up finishing everything in this big pot that I've been boiling water in because my saute pan is not big enough. So I'm going to continue stirring this around, and I'm also going to add like a big pinch of salt. And we'll salt as we go, which also helps like layer in some more flavor instead of only doing it like at the beginning or at the end. And I'm going to add some pepper. Just get it going. The salt will also help start drawing water out of the vegetables. So especially like with the zucchini and the bell pepper, which are, like I said, very, very, the salt will help like speed up the process a little bit. All right, and my pasta has been in here for 10 minutes. So while this is still going, I am going to drain it.
How do you like your pasta? Do you like your pasta like really soft or al dente?
Al dente, and especially because with this recipe, we're going to finish cooking the pasta with the vegetables. So having it al dente now is good. If you want it softer, totally fine. Oh wait,
Mine doesn't taste cooked. I'm gonna leave it on the floor. I just tried it. Yeah.
I'm going to try to get some of the pasta water into my liquid measuring cup. And this is going to help all of the deliciousness that our vegetables will be cooking in. And that's going to help it soak into the noodles themselves.
Did you put it separately? You just put it like in a cup?
Yeah. I have a nice liquid measuring cup.
Okay, gotcha.
Definitely don't use anything plastic because it will melt. It's boiling water. Okay, I'm gonna put all my pasta back in the pot. And I'm gonna add just a drizzle of oil so the noodles don't stick. Very light drizzle. Great, so pasta's done. I'm going to put the pot back on so it stays nice and warm. And I can really smell my bell peppers now.
Everything smells awesome.
Yeah. All the sizzle.
I love that sizzle. Can you hear my sizzle?
I know, I was wondering. You guys hear the sizzle? All right, okay. So these are still sizzling. It's going to get pretty steamy because there's so much, again, water in zucchini. Zucchini are like over 90% water.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, it's just the water coming out of the zucchini. I think my zucchini are getting pretty soft. And
Oh, I totally missed that step. I didn't even know that you added zucchini in already.
oh, you did it? Oh yeah, I added
No.
zucchini. Okay, so my zucchini is getting pretty soft. I'll show you guys again. It's like, it's not getting too translucent yet because there's some water in there, but you can poke it and it feels pretty tender. So I'm gonna start adding my tomatoes and corn in. And then I'll do another little drizzle of salt and another couple grinds of pepper. And your saute pan is gonna get very full. That's like one thing that always happens with this recipe. I'm gonna add all my tomatoes and all my corn. And then I'm gonna add another pinch of salt. Another few grinds of pepper. And now we probably have like 6 more minutes till this is done, and then we'll add it to our pasta. And so give that a good stir. And then we're gonna let it do its thing, and we're gonna cut our basil. And the basil we'll add at the very, very end, because we don't want it to get too wilty. Okay. So this is looking good. I got a nice full pot. Now I have my basil. And I'm just gonna start peeling some leaves off as everybody gets all their stuff in their saute pan. Did you get everything in your pan, Shanette?
No, I didn't. So when you have tomatoes now, you already added your tomatoes?
I added tomatoes and corn.
I feel like I should have used a bigger pan.
I always feel like that. And what's funny is that we usually do like twice, like double this amount.
Yeah.
Vegetables when we're in our in-person classes, because we'll have like 12 to 20 people to feed. And, there's always just a lot of extra. It's really good. I mean, it keeps people full. And also something that I wanted to mention, as we were just cooking a lot of vegetables, I've also just been stacking my basil leaves, like so, like you would stack dollar bills. But I'm not sure if anybody else was thinking about this, but obviously this pasta does not have like a protein-rich source to it. There are actually 8 grams of protein in each serving of this pasta, and because there's not, we're gonna say this is a 4-serving box, not a 7-serving box. There are probably a few more, so maybe like 10 to 11 grams of servings. Sorry, 10 to 11 grams of protein per serving. I'm gonna give my vegetables a stir. And we want to aim for about 15 to 20 grams of protein per meal usually. Some of the vegetables will actually have a little bit of protein. If you want to add, like, you could add white beans, you could add, if you really feel like it, canned tuna. If you just had some chicken breast, you could add some chicken breast. You could add, a turkey sausage or something to this. So there's a lot of ways to add protein, make it a little more hearty. But it will be filling because there's so much fiber in the vegetables and the pasta. So I have my basil leaves stacked now. And we're going to do a cutting technique called a chiffonade. So chiffonade is a fancy French word for ribbon. And basically all you do is you roll this up and you are going to slice down. And you'll notice as you slice, you make these sort of ribbons. So we're going to do that with all of these leaves. I'm going to have a lot of delicious basil. It smells very good. Remember, like I said, this is sweet basil. For some reason, the grocery store was out of just normal Italian basil, but I tried some of this myself, tested it out, and it is so good. I'm very excited to add this to our pasta.
Yeah, when you dropped off the basil yesterday, oh my God, I could smell it like on my hands and like around me for like hours. It smells amazing.
Okay. How are your vegetables doing?
They're doing good.
Okay. So my tomatoes are starting to like break down a little bit. I can smell them. Probably have like just a few more minutes. I'll show you guys. Other flavors you could add to this are if you have some balsamic vinegar, you can definitely throw that in. But this basil is gonna add a lot of flavor. Obviously, if you guys are cheese fans, you can add your protein as well. All right. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna give this just like a few more minutes. I'm gonna uncover. This is the real trick of this recipe, I think, is the point when you have to combine the pasta and the vegetables.
Into the veggies, yeah.
Yeah, so we've done this a few different ways. Because you want to like finish cooking the pasta in the vegetables and it will soak up some of the vegetable juices and add more flavor. You know, if you don't want to do that, obviously you don't have to. You could just put the vegetables on top of the pasta, eat it as is. It's still going to taste delicious.
I have a question. Do you rinse your pasta? Like with this one, do you rinse it? Even with the starch.
I actually don't. It's fine that it has some more liquid on it because it's just going to go into the vegetables.
Yeah.
It's very liquid heavy. But yeah, so there are a few ways you can do this. If you have a giant bowl, you could merge it in that giant bowl and then put it back in the saute pan. I think I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it because I feel like I don't have room in either of my vessels to fully combine them. Shanette, do you feel like you're having that same problem?
What, to be able to combine? Because I can fit everything in my pot.
Yeah, my pot seems.
I have a Dutch pot also that I boil the pasta in.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna take out just a little bit of my pasta, just in case.
Yeah.
Add it in later. So I'm gonna take out like maybe a third of the pasta to start, and then I can always just keep adding it in. This is definitely not the best spoon to do this with, but we are making it happen. Okay. So I've taken out.
Are your veggies done?
Yeah, they're looking pretty good and pretty soft.
Okay, so I think mine are they're decent. I'm gonna move that.
Yeah, the tomatoes
over.
Yeah, so my tomatoes are pretty wrinkly. My zucchini's getting translucent. My corn looks delicious. Everything is nice and soft. Okay, so I'm gonna turn my vegetables off. And I am now going to attempt to put my vegetables in my pasta pot.
In the pot. Okay, let's do it. It's the moment of truth.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do little by little. And then
I'll show everybody. This is what if you can see what my veggies look like. It looks pretty good. It's amazing.
Okay. And then to this, I am going to add, oh, sorry, that's a loud squeak. A little bit more oil. I'm gonna turn turn this pasta pot back on. I'm gonna add a little more oil. And I'm gonna add all the pasta water I served. So I have about a half a cup here. That's fine. Usually recommend about a cup. But I'm just gonna put that back in.
So you said you're adding pasta water back in.
Liquidy at first. And that is okay. Because it is just gonna continue cooking together. Okay. So I actually think taking out some of those noodles was a good call for me because it seems like this much is the perfect amount for the amount of pasta that I have. Okay. Now we're just gonna let that finish cooking together. Get all that pasta water out of the way. And now is the time that we're gonna add our basil. So you put in most of the basil, but save some to add some fresh basil to the top. I'm just gonna fold it in. I'm gonna taste one of my noodles to see if maybe I need some more salt. Do a safe taste, put it on my cutting board, let it cool down.
Oh my gosh.
This is good.
Oh my gosh, so good.
That's a good amount of salt. Okay, all right.
Wow.
I feel good about that.
Yummy.
Okay, so there's still a little bit of liquid in the bottom of mine, so I'm just gonna let it absorb a little more, probably like 2 more minutes.
I want more basil.
Yeah, add more basil. Yeah, take off first.
All of that basil, it's so good.
Basil from the top. Okay. And I actually have a can of white beans that I think I'm just gonna add. I'm gonna have on the side. So I would like some extra protein today.
Really, I'm hungry and I'm really excited to eat this pasta.
Yeah.
I can't wait to eat it.
It's gonna be so good. It really is like so comforting and just all the flavors of summer. It's hard to love it. And you can change it to like, you know, no matter what season you're in, right? Like you could certainly do fall, spring vegetable pasta with whatever's available that season. Okay. I have some beans. I'm just gonna stick these right here.
I think my pasta is done. I'm gonna go ahead and safely turn that stove off.
All right. Okay. So we are done. I'm gonna scoop this out with a different spoon.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
All right.
All the veggies. Some tomatoes.
Put just some beans. Basil, and I actually have some Parmesan cheese in my fridge.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna put some of that on top too.
Oh why? Beautiful.
Great.
It's so pretty. You guys want to see what my pasta looks like? It's so pretty.
Wow. Here's the plate.
Thanks.
What a bowl. Love that bowl.
All right. Good job, everybody. Yeah, I'm excited. All right, everyone. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today. This has been another awesome session. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us while we're cooking. Thank you so much, Rebecca,
Of course.
for another amazing recipe. Okay, thank you guys so much. You guys have a beautiful day and enjoy your holiday weekend, okay?
The Good Life program was made possible with the help of these amazing organizations.